Howdy there, and welcome to Ultima's boss run. This shows all of the successful boss runs that I've done in my first playthrough ever of Dark Souls 1. Now, this of course is the Asylum Demon. I did a little bit of research before playing the game as to kind of what was the best starting class and whatnot, which was about the only research I did besides figuring out how to get rid of the curse. And so, the Asylum Demon, I, of course, during the course of my research, heard that he was particularly weak to the fire bombs, so I chose that one in order to just deal the initial damage here. I know that you're supposed to go through the whole run and everything, but that was just something that came about from the initial research. Then, of course, the Tourist Demon. So here, after the initial research for like what was the best starting class, which they said was a Pyromancer, but I don't know exactly how true that is because I never really used the Pyromancies that much. But this was really the first boss that I fought without really knowing exactly what was going on, and I was kind of caught by surprise in the fact that he jumped down from the ceiling on me. But, as you can see, I am not very good at Dark Souls, and one of the things is that Dark Souls has always been kind of an out-of-bounds game for me. I like things like Mario, I like the Legend of Zelda, the games that are far more casual and far more forgiving when it comes to a lot of the technical, abilities, your particular skill sets when it comes to video games. And Dark Souls was always one of those ones that was very much, hey, don't play this game, it's super hard, it's very difficult to get the timing and all that. The bosses are impossible, it takes forever to beat and everything. And so I was always kind of just really against the idea of playing a game that was hard simply to be hard. And then I started playing it, and my goodness, I fell in love with the games. I played Elden Ring first, and that was one of those ones that everyone was saying was so impossible and you're never going to be able to beat it, and not for casuals and stuff like that. But it really opened up the world of Dark Souls to me, and so when I had beaten Elden Ring, that I'm like, what else have I been missing? Like, what of these highly technical, challenges am I missing in the video game world? And Dark Souls was always that. It was always the one that was out of reach for me, because everyone had said it's too hard. It's just hard to be hard. I don't like games that are just hard to be hard. But Dark Souls really changed that for me. It was one of those ones that you feel like, yeah, it's hard, but it's super fair. Like, it is very, very fair in the way that it's hard. So, except when it comes to mobs. Okay, when I say fair, I mean the bosses are fair, because the mobs are definitely not fair. Those things will gang up on you no matter how powerful you are and take you down. So, these gargoyles, they were initially very, daunting to me, until, I realized that you could use the the curve of the roof to your advantage here, and managed to kind of forestall some of their attacks. It allowed me the ability to go through with my club them to death. But one of the problems that I had at this point is I know nothing about Dark Souls. Like, I know absolutely nothing. And so I didn't know you could summon people. I didn't know that you had to be in human form. Oh yeah, this guy, this Capra Demon, was by far the hardest boss for me to get down, all because of these stupid dogs. If it wasn't for those dogs, I wouldn't have had too much trouble. But it was the dogs that caused me to just not be able to get him for 9 tries. It took me 9 tries to get this guy. And so learning how to dodge, how to use the weapons, how to time things properly, all of this stuff was very like very new to me. And one of the things that I realized from playing Elden Ring was that, your first and most important priorities are going to be your stamina and your health. And so those were the things that I focused on mostly for upgrading. And I got this sword because one of my subscribers had told me, hey, if you shoot the tail of that kite dragon that's on the bridge, then you get a pretty good sword. And I fell in love with that sword right away. It has a quick attack animation, it deals decent amount of damage, and so really having that sword made a huge difference. And this was also the episode that I started subtitling. And I started subtitling because of a few different reasons. And one of those reasons was because my voice is very boring. I'm sure that if you hear it right now, you're thinking, who's this monotonous guy talking to me and whatnot? This is my voice. I'm just that monotonous. I can hear the inflection in my voice because I can hear it going through my head. But when it comes out, it's very monotonous. And so I don't have a very entertaining voice to be doing a lot of these videos and a lot of these things in ways that, people are going to find super exciting. And, oh, I want to subscribe because, they're animated and they're enthusiastic and stuff. I'm very enthusiastic and I love it. But it is one of those things that it's very hard for me to portray that with my voice because I hear myself being monotone. So here's the Moonlight Butterfly. This is a boss that I ran across. I had no idea that it was that there was even a butterfly type boss in this game. Again, I did no research besides what would be the best starting class. That was about it. And there were a few things that came from that in that particular research, but I didn't look at walkthroughs. I didn't look at maps. I didn't look at anything. So I had no idea what I was doing. I just started playing and I was enjoying the game. And that's how I play all my games. I start off just playing the game. And then when I beat it the first time, then I start looking at the maps and I start looking at the walkthroughs and finding more optimal ways of doing things. And that's one of the things that happened here is I ran across this Moonlight Butterfly and it's like, well, what do I do here? I can't attack it because obviously it's attacking me too fast and I'm not good at menuing. So it's like, if I can't menu, I can't get my long range attacks, and so what do? And I just had to wait it out, see if he would ever land, and yeah, it does land eventually. In the meantime, it does a lot of these little magic dart thingies that are very, very painful. You saw a little bit earlier, I almost died to one of those attacks, and that was insane. I didn't like the amount of damage that it can get through my shield and stuff like that. So this one had me a little bit on the edge, mostly because there was no way for me to attack it, and there was no way for me to kind of protect myself against the magic. So finally you see me dual-handing the sword here to increase my damage output. So I don't usually dual hand. You won't see me double handing anything inside this game simply because the shield is very important to me. I was not good at dodging, especially in the beginning, because the dodge timings are so different from Elden Ring. So Elden Ring, its dodge timings are very, they're very clear. You can see this in pretty much everything. Their dodging is far more precise than it is here, which you have a certain bit of your dodge animation that will protect you, but then most of your dodge animation is just that animation. It kind of leaves you vulnerable. So here I'm fighting the Stray Demon. So after I found after the Moonlight Butterfly, I believe is about when I went down to the Ashen Lake, and in the Ashen Lake they give you curse for the first time, and that was the other occasion in which I had to actually research what on earth the Ashen, or how to get rid of the curse. They give you that little pop-up, but it's like they don't tell you where to find those purging stones, and like saying that there's a guy in Orlando when I have no idea where on earth I am 90% of the time. So trying to find someone in some place is not very helpful to me. And then I came back to the asylum, and suddenly there's this thing inside the basement, which it was a very annoying fight. It took a long time because you see my damage here. I'm not stacking damage very well, and his AoE attacks are incredibly annoying because they're just that. They're meant to keep you at a distance so you can run in, you can hit a couple times, and then you have to get out of there as soon as possible. And that window to hit, that window to cause damage, is very minimal unless you're playing very aggressively or you're very good at dodging, which again, I was not very good at dodging. So this particular fight was probably the longest fight out of the game because I was very underleveled here. I didn't understand kind of the concept of why he wasn't taking that much damage, but I was determined to beat him. And so this one took me probably about 6 or 7 tries to get the stray demon down. But yeah, that's the thing about Dark Souls. It's like these bosses, even though they're very difficult, they're very, very fair. Once you learn their attack patterns, then you can punish them very well. And it's one of those things that I kind of wish that people hadn't stopped me when I was younger from playing these types of games by saying, oh, it's just so hard, it's so hard, nobody, like, very few people get it, very few people enjoy it just because it's so hard. Because really, it's once you learn the attack timings and stuff like that, then the game is super fair with the bosses. Like, you can literally, you understand how people can go through bosses without taking any sort of hits whatsoever. And so that was one of those things that really took me by surprise when I started playing Elden Ring. And then when I went over to Dark Souls, yeah, the timing is a little bit different with the dodging, but the bosses are all extremely fair, and the only thing you have to really worry about is the mobs. And the one thing that I would change about this game, if I could change anything about this game, would be that I would put the bonfires right next to the boss doors, so that you're not walking 20 minutes through mobs that you've beaten like 50 times in order to get back to a boss only to die in the first 5 seconds. Like, that is very disheartening. That's the one thing. Like, if there was ever a mod for this game, that would be the only mod I would ever support. Because other than that, the game is perfect. Like, just always backtracking, like going through that same area. You sit there and you're like, oh, I died. If I die again, then I'm losing all these souls. Don't get attached to the souls. Like, just do yourself that favor right now. Don't get attached to the number of souls that you have. Because the moment that you want to keep your souls, that's when you're going to lose out. And here you see, once you cut off the tail of this dragon, that suddenly you get a weapon. And that weapon is not one that I ever used. Like, there were only 2 weapons really in this run through that I used after I was able to replace my club, which was my first weapon that I decided to use. And that was the dragon pig sticker, this sword. And then I also replaced it with the knight's halberd once I got that and leveled up, which, oh man, I wish I had done that sooner. Like, I wish I had put more focus on strength and stuff sooner so that I could get that halberd as soon as I had gotten it off the knight in the deep root depths. Because at this time, I do have the halberd, but I didn't upgrade my strength. I was focusing on my stamina, and I was focusing on my vitality, your health and stamina. And that's what I was doing, and it caused a lot of these bosses to take much longer than should have. His says weapon at risk and weapon broken, but I don't know what weapon broke. Like, I don't see what weapon broke. And when I look at it, like, all those other weapons, like, they still had the weapons that I had equipped, which was that sword and the pyromancy thing. They were still working just fine. Here is one because, I mean, I don't do anything erotic on my channel. And FromSoft has this thing about unclothed women, but just kind of a joke here. No, you don't. Yeah, no, they didn't really show anything anyway, just so you know. Like, of course, they didn't fully model the breasts and everything, so... But it is one of those things that I want my channel to be very family-friendly. And even though Dark Souls is a dark game, it's an awesome game. And I recommend that anyone who has the ability to play it, go ahead and play it. But this is Quelaag, and I gave a really big in-depth analysis of Quelaag in my first battle, but I didn't win that first battle, so you don't get to see it here. And so I understand kind of the symbolism that they're using here. So the beauty and the terror of chaos, the beauty and the ugliness of chaos, and how it burns you up, and just generally you see a lot of symbolism in this game, and you see a lot of beauty and the symbolism of this game, which is something that I definitely appreciate. You know, the fact that, you know, the developers of this game put a lot of thought into it. Like, these characters weren't characters because they wanted something that looked cool. Obviously they look cool, but they wanted them to actually mean something, which was awesome. Like, I think that they did a great job in having characters that actually meant something to you, that had a reason for being in the way that they are. And a special thank you to Just Some Jersey Devil with Internet Access for all of the lore and stuff that they gave me behind the scenes of, like, these characters and the worlds that I was exploring here. Because again, you know, I don't do the research beforehand. I'm just playing it because I want to see the game. And the ability to know more behind the scenes of these characters was amazing and very much appreciated. And I appreciate definitely all of my subscribers who have taken the time to subscribe to me, a small channel like that nobody knows about and nobody is gonna be hearing about for a long time. And as I build up this channel, like, I appreciate greatly those who take the chance to subscribe to my channel and trust me to entertain them and lead them in the content. So thank you all you subscribers and all you future subscribers that are gonna sit there and help make this channel successful. Again, this channel is only successful because subscribers like you are what make it successful. So anyway, Ceaseless Discharge. I didn't come up with that name, and that's definitely not the name I would have chosen. Like, I would have probably chosen literally any other name under the sun to describe this thing besides Ceaseless Discharge. But I didn't realize that there was a kind of sub-method to beat this guy. Like, there was a actually designed method to beat this guy. And so I sat there, and so a number of times I got him down to like 1 or 2 bars of health, or 1 or 2 bar segments of health. And then he would kill me with like some of his weirder attacks. But I did realize that you can sit there and get him in this particular attack animation, where he's far enough away that he wants to attack with one of his tentacle things, and he will just keep doing that, and all you have to do is a quick dodge out of the way, and that's basically the entire fight. So the fight in this way is relatively boring, but I sped it up for you simply because, you know, it's tiring. And so, but there is an intended strategy to beat him, and that is after you grab this, I guess these clothes off to the side, then he will follow you to the entrance where I guess he trips or he goes into a chasm, and then and evidently it takes just a couple hits on his hand. So I show that right here. And you may notice kind of a difference in the quality of the video between the last thing and this one, simply because the other ones I decided to do a boss video after I had beaten like 10 or so of the bosses, 10 or 11 of the bosses. And so all of the footage that I had for them was from YouTube, and YouTube only allows you to like download the standard footage. And this is one from footage that I had gained from my New Game Plus mode, which was after I had made the decision to make a boss video. And so I think that the last one that you'll see, that the last one that was actually of the poorer variety was Quelaag, and then, or no, Ceaseless Discharge, and then from there on, it's all footage that I kept, because the next one is the Iron Giant from Sen's Fortress, and it's about that time where I decided to start a boss video, to just kind of go over all these winning runs. And so, anyway, I don't remember. I have ADD, so you're going to hear me go back and forth in topics, and if I don't remember something, I'll probably repeat it, so I apologize for that. But one of the things is that the reason why I use subtitling is because you hear my voice, it's very boring. In subtitles, you read it however you find it most applicable to what you're seeing. And so if you know I'm trying to be funny, you're going to read it in a way that's far funnier than I could ever say it. And if you think it's something dramatic or something just matter-of-factly, you're going to read it in a way that's far better than I could actually say it, simply because of my monotone voice. And so you fill in the blanks with the things that are important, that I wanted to portray, but wouldn't be able to portray in such a decent way. And yeah, it does take a long time. It takes me about an hour and a half in order to put in the subtitling for these videos and edit them down. It's a very easy thing. I mean, obviously I'm not talking, and it's not trying to find funny or witty things to say out loud in kind of the moment. But it is something that takes a little while to do, and the fact that I did receive like some form of appreciation for it kind of encouraged me to continue in that way. And I don't know how long I'll do that. Like, as I get better with the YouTube thing, and as I get better in doing all of these particular, I guess, changes, like it's a definite change from what I'm used to doing, then you're going to see probably more videos where I'm adding commentary or doing voiceovers like this one, or you're going to be seeing more occasions in which I personally kind of appear. I started doing it a year or so ago, and you'll see some of my older videos. This is kind of a funny situation, because always on the last hit, suddenly they break out some sort of move that prevents you from getting that last hit off. And if you don't have high enough vitality, or good enough armor or whatnot, they're going to kill you on that last hit. So never get set on the fact that you're going to beat the boss on the last hit, because I have died so many times on the last hits. Anyway, so as I was saying, I started doing this gaming channel like a year ago, and I started doing the video recordings of it around that time, and there was a particular incident which caused me to enter into a state of depression and caused me to kind of give up on the idea of playing video games or building up a video gaming channel. And yet, after that incident, it took me, several months, probably about 9 months since the last time I posted. And even now, it still affects me. And it was a very unfortunate situation. But I have decided to try and move past that and try and, even though like the depression and the anxiety of doing stuff like this still gets to me, that I want to be able to do something. This is something that I enjoy. Video games are something that I love. I used to program video games. I play video games, of course. Not always very good. Sometimes I can be pretty good, but many times I kind of am what I am. You play the game and hope that somebody enjoys the way that you play it. But as I go through, then it's like, I'm gonna take the risk. I'm gonna try and build up something that means something to me, and video games are definitely those things. So here we see Ornstein and Smaug. I don't know, Ornstein and Smaug. I guess I'll say it like that. But one of the things about this particular fight is that this was the first time that I realized that you could summon people. So I had found Solaire's summon sign in the room prior, and I was like, oh, Solaire, I wonder if he can help me with these giants that keep annoying me while I'm trying to open this door. And yeah, he helped me with those giants, and then he stuck around. And I know that in Elden Ring, there's kind of like this thing where if you help in a certain area, then your summoning period kind of ends after you've defeated like some mini boss or major boss. And so at least that was my experience. Maybe they all just left me afterwards. But so I wasn't entirely sure of the dynamics in this game. But I didn't even know that you had to be human in order to summon. So this was a surprise to me to see that I was human and I could summon suddenly people to help out. And so this was kind of my run through with Solaire helping me. However, I don't like beating bosses with help. I like the satisfaction of being able to beat them on my own. And so in the New Game Plus, I went through and I beat them without Solaire, and I'm going to have that run at the end because I did it in a very special way. Once again, portraying that sometimes I can be pretty good at what I do, but a lot of times, I'm just kind of me. So Ornstein and Smaug were pretty simple. Like this, I beat them first try mostly because Solaire distracted and took care of Ornstein. And Ornstein definitely being the fastest, he's the one who you usually take care of first anyway, from my experience. But then we come here to the Grey Wolf Sith. And so I didn't know that this was a required boss in order to beat the game. I just thought that this was some sort of mini-boss or not mini-boss, but kind of side boss that you fight later on. And so I didn't know anything about the story of Sith and why on earth this wolf would have the ability to wield a sword. And then I learned all about Artorias and all that, which evidently there's the DLC in this game that goes over a little bit of Artorias and his quest line, which of course I'm making more videos on and all that. But this is all for the main story. Anyway, so here we got Sif, and the Sif fight was very easy. Like, the first time that I met Sif, I probably could have beaten Sif. And the biggest problem with Sif is the speed and that annoying camera angle. Like, my goodness, targeting in this game sometimes works completely against you. Anyway, but the boss is very televised. Like, all of its attacks are very televised. Even seeing now, like, some of the things that I fell to is simply because I get distracted very easily. Again, I have ADD, so distraction is kind of the name of the game, in which I get distracted by things like, oh, what's going on in the background over here? Why is there a waterfall? What's with the rubble around the ground? And then, like, I wind up getting hit. And so, but another thing with bosses, another really seriously annoying thing with bosses, why is it that whenever you heal, they hit you? Like, that's when they're going to hit you, is when you heal. Like, oh my goodness, it's so annoying. Oh my goodness. Like, that had me almost rage quitting a couple times. But, yeah, so anyway, Sif wasn't that bad. And then we go on to kind of starting collecting the Lord Souls. And my first one was Seath the Scaleless. I know that it was inside my actual playthrough. It looked like I was going to go for the Four Kings, but I didn't see a gold cloud in the Four Kings area. So I didn't want to fight them because I wanted to know what was inside these gold cloud areas. And then I, of course, get introduced to Seath, who is evidently an unwinnable fight. There's no way for you to win your first encounter with Seath, evidently for lore reasons, but you get put into some sort of crystal prison and then you move on from there. And then you go through this whole crystal cavern with invisible walkways that are just made for them to trick you and make you fall. Like, they're designed for that. It's the only reason why you have invisible walkways, so that you can trick them into thinking that they're safe and then just fall. But yeah, no. So Seath was not a bad boss fight, and one of the problems that you see here in the beginning, I didn't know that that shiny thing needed to be destroyed. I thought that that was something you would collect at the end. And so I come up here and I start fighting him, and all of a sudden he heals for all of the damage that I caused. And it's like, you also see here, so an interesting thing about wearing evidently wearing the ring of sacrifice or something is that it kind of increases some of your resistance to curse, from what I understand. I'm not sure how true that is. It's just something that I read afterwards. But I had the Ring of Sacrifice on here because somebody told me while I was playing that I needed it for Seath. And so I thought that that was just a requirement in order to hurt him. And so I had the Ring of Sacrifice on. You can see the curse didn't build up. Now I'm thinking it's probably because of my shield, because the shield I have I got from the Painted World, Ariamis or whatever it is, and that one of the things is it increases your resistances to certain statuses. So thinking maybe that was probably it, but yeah, no. After I destroyed that thing, I was suddenly able to hurt him. I thought possibly that maybe cutting off one of these tails would grant me a weapon, because you see that a lot with the dragon bosses, that cutting off their tail grants you a weapon. I'm never really able to stay behind Seath long enough to cut off the tail, so I don't know if that's possible. One of the things while fighting Seath, and you'll notice probably in a minute or so, is that there was a particular segment where where I was going around back to try and hit his back tail, and then he just lifts up that very segment of his tail right as I'm about to hit him, which was kind of funny, like just the juke that he got me. But yeah, trying to keep to the sides of bosses seems to be pretty effective in that you have kind of a strange hitbox. Here it is. Yep, right there. He just lifted up that segment of his tail just enough, and then he slaps me. So, C took me only one try to beat. It wasn't that difficult, but yeah, like I said, staying to the sides of bosses seems their hitboxes are strange away and enough that there are usually pretty clear defined areas where they're not going to be able to hit you very well, and so they have to be able to kind of turn and do something inside all of those areas, like cover all of those areas where they're exposed, but it's often not enough for you to really have to worry about. Like, those attacks usually don't kill you outright. Sole exception that I found is Calamite, and that's in the DLC, and so that one was very annoying. Pinwheel. So Pinwheel is not a boss. It is a normal enemy, and you'll fight more of them later on in the level, that in the Giant's Tomb, right before you get to the Lord Soul of Nito. But Pinwheel, first off, he had me kind of worried because of the way he looked here. So it's like, oh, am I in for this big, difficult boss fight? And only to figure out that it was so fast that I could fit the whole boss fight in one of those 15-second shorts for YouTube. And here is where I found, the Rite of Kindling, which I remembered from the very beginning of the game when I tried to kindle the fireplace further, and it said you needed the Rite of Kindling in order to do it further. And so I knew kind of what that was for right away. And I got the Mask of the Father on that one. In the second run through, and the New Game Plus, I got the Mask of the Child, but which is more useful for me because I do stamina. Basically, that's it. Like, I dodge and I hit, and that's what I do. So I hope that the shield is enough if I miss a dodge, but mostly it's just dodge and hit. So here the problem is these little guys. Once again, just like the Capra Demon, the hardest part of this boss fight is not the boss itself. It's the little enemies that come with the boss. And again, because, yeah, I rolled right into that. Like, I was trying to dodge the other way, and sometimes it seems like my control stick is a little bit weird, a little bit wonky. But anyway, the problem with these particular boss fights is the mobs that come with them. So, but yeah, Nito wasn't that difficult. Again, most of my fighting style is dodge, so finding out I dodged backwards into that one, and that's why I said again here. Anyway, so a lot of what I wind up getting with these bosses is I find an area that I can punish them. I have to die usually multiple times in order to kind of get the full range of their attacks and gauge their aggression and how difficult the things around them are going to be. But then usually I get it pretty set. Nito took me 2 tries. So, first try, I died to those really annoying skeletons that were to the side. But second try, Nito wasn't that difficult. again, I've been upgrading my stamina and my my vitality. So my health is pretty high. I have Birdie at this point. Birdie, my halberd there. He's upgraded all the way, and so he's dealing pretty good damage. And yeah, the neato boss fight. It was neato. No. Yeah, I'm a dad. I make dad jokes. So, anyway, here are the 4 kings, which I learned is many more than 4 kings. Evidently, these things just keep respawning until that thing on the bottom goes away, until their health bar is fully down. Kind of like the God Killer duo, or the God Skinner duo in Elden Ring, where they shared a health bar, and you could kill one, and then you could kill the other, but then one would come back, and then the other would come back until the health bar is down. There's a similar idea here. They have these homing attacks, which just keep getting me again. I don't have much by way of magic resistance, but here, by this time, I'm pretty much set in my equipment. I have the robe here, which is the pyromancer, like the queen pyromancer, whatever robe, from when I fought Ceaseless Discharge, and that's just because the iron suit, like the iron top, is too heavy and it makes me not able to roll. And so then I have the iron helmet, the iron greaves, and the iron leggings, all of which give me a pretty good boost in defense. But my biggest thing, and one of the reasons why I suffered a lot here, is because I've been using the defense ring the whole game, basically. The ring that increases your defense against melee attacks. And I've been using that the whole game. And so here inside this battle, where you have to replace a ring with the Ring of Artorias, then you can't use that, because you also have the Ring of Fervor and Protection, which boosts your poise and your equipment loads, your stamina, and your health. But in the end, you can't remove it once it's attached, so you only have 1 ring slot. And I made a comment about this in the game. You know, I have 10 fingers. If I was in a situation like this guy is, I would absolutely be using all 10 of those fingers and all 10 of my toes to be giving me as much of an advantage as I could possibly get. So, here is where I beat the 4th of the 4 kings, and then realized that there are more than 4 kings. I also when I was editing the first time, didn't see it in the background. When I was fighting the first king, I didn't see the second one just kind of floating there until it came around a second time. But yeah, kind of adds to the spookiness of the area. And so evidently, if you go to the Abyss before you place the Lord Vessel, there's another little snake guy down here. His name is Cap. And he wants you to place a vessel in order to bring in the Age of Dark. And so that's what I'm doing in my New Game Plus. I'm doing the Age of Dark or whatnot, and seeing kind of what a lot of the NPCs have to offer once you kill them. It's kind of like the Chaos run of Elden Ring, where you just kind of do all of this, just all the things you weren't supposed to do in the other runs or whatnot. And I don't like being the bad guy. Like, I don't like playing games as the bad guy, which is why, like, earlier in one of the episodes when I was with Patches, who had sat there and knocked me down a hole, it's like, okay, well, you asked for forgiveness, sure, I'll forgive you, you know, I'm not going to be the bad guy here. But in the New Game Plus, I was able to get my revenge on him, especially because he sat there and screwed me up over a bridge. Anyway, but in the end, New Game Plus, that footage will come out, but it'll probably be like one video for the New Game Plus, and then a couple videos for the DLC. So I do have a number of them recorded. Currently facing Manus at the time of recording this. So when I beat Manus, then those things will be forthcoming, and then that'll be it for Dark Souls, and it's on to Dark Souls 2. And this is the thing, you know, I really want to build up this channel. I want to build it up to be successful. I want to have content that you guys like. So if there's something that you guys want to see me play, like I'm doing a few games right now. I'm doing the Mario games for the kids and whatnot. I'm doing the Legend of Zelda. Of course, my favorite game of all time is the Legend of Zelda. It's the one that I was basically first introduced to, was Zelda 64. I used to sit there and my aunt, she used to live in the same house, and she would live in the kind of the basement area. It wasn't really the basement, it was more like the bottom floor. But she would live there, and I would go down, and if I had to deliver a message or something to my aunt, then she would be playing The Legend of Zelda, and that really got me hooked on The Legend of Zelda. And so I think she was the first one actually to give me The Legend of Zelda for the N64. And so I really enjoyed playing that game, and it's been kind of one of the ones that I've gone to ever since. So you'll see me playing that, the new Legend of Zelda, the Tears of the Kingdom and all that. But I want really to be able to focus on kind of one game at a time. So I may do one day of recording all sorts of Legend of Zelda content, and then focus the rest of the time on building up like the Dark Souls and stuff like this. So this is Centipede Demon. I found him to be very easy, just annoying that he just wanted to stay on top of me the whole battle. Like, jump up, come down, jump up, throw a fireball, come down. Like, I couldn't move anywhere. He just wanted to be right there on top of me. So the battle didn't look very entertaining. It's one of the reasons why I didn't make a short for it, because like really what's entertaining about seeing graphics clipping in and out for 60 seconds, you know. This is the Bed of Chaos. Bed of Chaos is evidently some sort of gimmick fight, where you have these two orbs to the side, and once you destroy them, then you go up the middle. There was no way for me to get footage of a single clean run. Again, because I don't look up this stuff before I go against it, so I didn't know about like the firebomb method or how to do that. And so I took the segments of me trying to figure this boss out and put them all together, and that's what made most of this fight. The most annoying part of this fight is the extended hitbox that those little leafy branches kind of extend out the hit range. And so you're sitting there and you're dodging, and you see a clip there. That's where I died in one of them, and now this is me continuing on from there. But those little branches extend that hitbox, and so they do a sweep, and suddenly you're dead, even though you don't see what hit you because those little branches hit you. So yeah, it's a very kind of strange boss fight if you're doing it, I guess, in this way, in the intended way of fighting one and then going through and getting to the other one. So evidently the last hit on this, like, this is just such a gimmick fight that all of these things take one hit. One hit there, one hit on the other side, and one hit in the middle. And so there's not much to say about this boss fight besides the fact that it looks like there's this giant flame dragon coming out of the top. And so, I mean, that's pretty cool. I wish that they had done more with that flame dragon other than, you know, make it look cool. But they didn't. So there's not really much to say about this. In the end, it's one of the few bosses of this game. Oh, they knocked me right onto this little island instead of going down and succumbing to gravity anyone who's watched my playthrough of this game, like you see, gravity is my biggest enemy. Like, my goodness, I keep dying to gravity. By far the hardest boss of this game is gravity. But in the end, just having one boss that is kind of gimmicky, kind of annoying, is not enough for me to say that the game in general is trash, or even that this area or the boss is trash. Like, it's a fun idea. I just wish that they had been able to flesh it out a bit more. But other than that, there really isn't much to say. Where the dragon kind of like becomes this fully realized dragon-y thing, and it's just like some sort of flame. And then it's time to get into the middle. And I died a couple times trying to rescue my 60,000 souls. I was already upgraded enough that like I needed more than 60,000 souls to upgrade. But one of the things that I would say about this game is if you lose your souls to a boss, don't try and get them back. Like, just try and beat the boss and get them back if you can afterwards, because there's no way that boss is going to allow you to get your stuff back. And I'm, of course, talking as a noob to the game. Like, a complete noob to the game. I've never played Dark Souls before, and so it's one of those observations that comes from somebody who's just, I guess, exploring. I would be what you would consider a filthy casual, you know? Just, I never wanted to play any sort of challenging things, and found that I really do love the challenge. Like, I love the difficulty. And so, I do wish that people had, and that is one ugly bug. I do wish that people hadn't turned me off to the idea of Dark Souls before. This is Dark Sun Gwendolyn, and Dark Sun Gwendolyn was very annoying because she has a mechanic where, like, she deals damage until you get within a certain range, and then you have to, and then she'll disappear back further. And so you're constantly running back further and further and further, trying to get a hit off. And so my first, I died I think 3 times to Gwendolyn before I got this run, the winning run. And it was this run in which I realized that you could bait out certain attack positions and just basically run through them. Like, and once I figured that out, then it obviously I beat it that same run. So when you're fighting this, if you're fighting it for the first time, if you're a noob like I was, just remember that you can bait certain attacks to be in certain positions, and then just basically run, and that's it. And it's a super easy boss, just very annoying to get to, very annoying to hit. And so again, here Birdie was doing pretty good damage, and I was actually lucky to even find this boss, because I was sitting there and I was gonna go back and after I had gotten all of the Lord Souls, I had decided to go in and beat the final boss. And then it's like, as I was transporting to Firelink Shrine, I saw one of the things that said Dark Moon Seance Ring. And it's like, oh, I have that ring from the catacombs, and I wanted to go check out what it would do in Dark Moon Tomb. So it's like, because there was this note in Dark Moon Tomb saying something about try ring, and it's like, well, what ring? And so once I got the Dark Moon Seance ring, then it's like, that's probably the ring. Yeah, here I mention a little bit about muscle memory, simply because, like, trying to time this was very annoying with the muscle memory I had to go off to the side. and to like dodge to the side. And then when I finally got it, it's like, okay, now I can do this. So, all in all, generally a very easy fight. But yeah, so then I saw that and it's like, okay, so I'm going to try that. And then like putting on the ring in the tomb, then it cleared the pathway here. So, but yeah, and that's Dark Sun Gwendolyn. And so, evidently she puts a curse on you. And I don't know what the curse does, but it was more out of curiosity. Like this boss fight, like I wanted to fight all of the bosses in this game. And so anything that seemed like it would be a boss fight, like Priscilla, who doesn't really give you any inclination to believe she's a boss fight besides the fact she's behind a fog gate, is like I attacked her because I wanted to do the boss fight. Now, for my fight with Gwyn, you need to understand, I don't know how to parry. Like, parrying is one of those mechanics that has escaped me this entire game. I have no idea how to parry. And yet, evidently, parrying makes this boss a walk in the park. I only died once to this boss. But as you can see, my signature roll and hit, that's basically how I beat all of these bosses, is finding the dodge timing. Like learning how to dodge, learning when is the appropriate time to heal, when I can heal. And so, yeah, with this one, he was definitely the most aggressive out of all of the bosses that I had faced so far. But his aggression didn't really mean that much when I had on the stone plate ring or whatnot. And that ring reduces all of the fire damage that you take. And so his attacks didn't do very much. I had plenty of time to heal up when I needed to. He does this grab attack, which is evidently not very powerful. Like, it doesn't do very much. And one of the things that, again, I mentioned it here, you don't set your heart on beating the boss no matter how low the life is, because there's a good chance they're going to mess you up. And so they pull out some sort of something to just mess you up each and every time. But here, I managed to be able to survive his grab explosive attack, and that gave me all of the opportunity I needed. Here I had to heal a bit because I was too worried that this was the last shot, and I didn't want him to be able to combo me to death. And so I healed a couple times, and then there you go. That's Lord of Cinder without parry. So I had no idea what to do. I thought, oh look, a bonfire. I can go to that bonfire and I can warp somewhere else. And evidently that bonfire was the last bonfire of the game, which triggered the end cutscene, which evidently triggers your New Game Plus. So everything that I wanted to do, all the exploring that I wanted to do, see if I missed anything, if I missed any bosses, luckily I didn't. But if I missed anything, then it's too late. I couldn't do anything about it this time. But as I said, I do have a very special run of New Game Plus that I wanted to show off with this. So, after this particular cutscene, here is the run of me fighting Ornstein and Smaug on the New Game Plus. And you'll notice I don't have on any armor. And the reason is because I was dying, like, this is probably attempt number 13 to Smaug and Ornstein all the time with the armor that I had on. And I was getting sick and tired of not being able to dodge out of the way. So I removed all of my heavy armor so that I could do the fast dodging. And it was more just kind of like to see if that would work. And then the first time that I did it, so this is attempt number 3 with the armor off. And so, or not 3, 4. This is attempt number 4 with the armor off. So the first attempt, I actually managed to beat Smaug first. and got Ornstein. Of course, I was talking with somebody at the time and got distracted, and he did 2 of his little like stabby, raise you up and kill you type attacks, and that definitely did its job. Second time, he got me with like I had just defeated Smaug, and then he got me as the death animation was playing. And so as soon as the death animation was over, then I got I suffered the death. Anyway, I did try to beat Smaug first for any of these runs, but Ornstein is constantly in your face, and so you kind of just have to deal with it. You know, the kind of usually the first one you deal with. Now, that one attack that he just did where I was in front of him and I hit him and I moved, and you might think like that was just luck on my part, but no, I had actually wanted him, I had baited him to go off to the side like that. So, just with some of these little columns that are strewn throughout the battle arena. And so, one of the few occasions in which I actually got it to work. Because I noticed when he was fighting behind Smaug, then a lot of his attacks were very direct and could be deflected. That one was close. Like the hammer just came down just literally inches from where I was, so that got me spooked. But it's like, you see how his attacks get influenced and redirected from these little columns, and so that particular attack, I was like, okay, if I can get him to do his spear just on the edge there, then I can get him so that I can hit him and not get hit. So anyway, and then we go here to the cutscene where he gets killed by his buddy, which I don't know why Smaug would sit there and want to kill the guy who was just fighting alongside him. I mean, obviously he was still alive, you see his hand moving. But, anyway, I don't know much about these two. Besides the fact that Smaug's decoration at the very bottom of his armor is not very subtle, to say the least. I was always thinking of blurring it out, but then again, you know, it just is what it is. It's decoration. Anyway, you'll notice a few interesting things here. Smaug has a very interesting hitbox with that hammer, in the fact that close by him, you can survive almost all of his side-swiping hammer attacks just by the way that his hitbox works. And so whenever he was doing like side-swiping or whatnot, you'll see me get in real close and try and take a few hits. So here is an amazing thing. I survived with 1 HP. Like, I could not believe that I survived with 1 HP. Like, by all rights, I should be dead. But, nope, this happened to be the very run that I managed to survive. And I had consigned myself to definitely losing this round. But, they had different things in plan for me. But I do really appreciate you guys taking the time listening to this hour-long video of me beating the main bosses of Dark Souls. The game was so much fun, just a lot of fun, and really I wanted more, and the DLC has been providing that, and so I have those videos coming out shortly. But the game, like, as in my opinion, it's a must-play. It's one that, if you have an opportunity in your lifetime, please do pick it up and play it. And so, anyway, thank you all for watching. Remember, if you like the video, and if you love it, please subscribe. Anyway, this is Ultima, signing out.